it's about the person's relationship to themselves and their joy, but it's also about our relationship to them and a gift that that contains all of that.
For me, it was my last ditch effort.
Oh, it was a beautiful one. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful. I hope you feel really good about. I mean, I hope in the telling of it again that you really feel good about your generous heart. Because that's what
I don't
that.
feel bad about it,
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was very creative. But sometimes when I think you're the most creative when you don't have the money to buy something that they're worthy of getting. Like, oh my gosh, I wish I could spend $300 on somebody and like I only have $3. So what am I gonna do? And you have to do something more meaningful so that there's value to it, meaning to it, so that it's priceless. Welcome to the Create Happy Now podcast, dedicated to helping you start your journey to discover true happiness. Join me, your host, Susan Blanton, weekly as we explore the transformation stories and words of wisdom from our masters of happiness with tips you can start applying today to create happy now. Hey, this is Susan Blanton with the Create Happy Now podcast, and today I have on my show Richert Belul, founder of Simply Celebrate, helps people find creative, intentional, and impactful ways to celebrate life and to express love for family and friends. As a certified high-performance coach, Sherry supports people in living their best lives, full of joy, success, engagement, and meaningful relationships. She is the author of Say It Now, 33 Creative Ways to Say I Love You to the Most Important People in Your Life, creator of the Mango Publishing Heart Wisdom Panel, and co-founder of the Secret Agents of Change. Her work has been featured in the New York Times, Town & Country, and the Wall Street Journal. Sherry has been a guest speaker and workshop leader for countless podcasts, bookstores, and companies. Well, thank you so much, Sherry, for joining us today. And you're just right up my alley. I just love all of these creative things. And I grew up making presents at Christmas and birthdays and anniversaries. And that's what my family does. I mean, you just can't get through a celebration of any kind without not one of us making something. And it's not just my immediate family. We have like other people in the family that have made furniture or made, a stool or made some jewelry or, just it's always something different. And it's just, I never quite know what's going to happen in my family, what's going to be coming up next. And it's something that, they're not going to throw it away because you made it. But it also just means like they were thinking about you the whole entire time they were making it, and that they were loving you, and it was intended for you. And it just means so much. And it's also feels good for the giver, because I mean, I've received handmade items, and I've also given a lot of handmade items, and I don't know which is more joyous. I think it's a battle, I think I love receiving as much as I do giving, and vice versa.
Oh, Susan. Oh, that was also beautiful. And yes, yes, yes to all of that. And yes, yes, yes to you and your beautiful wings behind you and your smile. I'm so happy to be here. What a delight. Yay.
Yes. Well, I wanted the listeners to learn a little bit more about you and what got you to this point of just really promoting making things for people or doing something to brighten their day. So can you kind of give us a little insight to your journey?
I would love to. And I'm actually so happy you asked that first, because oftentimes people hear the name of my company, which is Simply Celebrate, and they think, oh, sure, you must be one of those naturally happy people, and oh, blah, 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 confetti and balloons. And
You make me sick.
Right. And I always love to make sure that the first thing I ever say when I'm speaking like this is that everything I do grew out of my own deep, deep, deep depression and anxiety as a young woman. And that is the foundation that my celebration has grown out of, and frankly still does. I'm practice joy, I practice celebration, I practice love. And they, as with everything we practice, you guys were just talking about this on one of your recent podcasts, that it's like going to the gym, right? So it's like these are things just the same. We build those muscles.
Yeah.
And for me, I'll just give you, if I might, just a quick story, because to me it really shows people where all of this came from, which was, so I was just one of those people that, for whatever reason, I think some of us just tend to have a lot more sort of that self-talk, that really hard, never enough, can't do enough, that was stupid, why did you do that, why'd you say that, you're so ugly, all you right, like and I know, some people have it more than others. I just felt like it was just constant. And it really, at some point in my 20s, all because I started very early on regretting who I was and that I wasn't living up to who I should be. And it really piled up. And when I had a breakup with someone, that really threw me into this dark suicidal place where that's all I could think about is, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm obviously just a screw up. I can't even keep a relationship. And fortunately, and we know this is one of the most beautiful things about life, right? You've been talking about intuition. I think that was a piece of it. There was this intuition, and also I started, getting encouragement to go to a meditation class. And oh, thank goodness, right, for meditation.
Yes.
So when I walked into that meditation class, I felt literally like an iron wall closing in on me. Like all of that self-hate, all of that hard anxiety and self-consciousness, it just felt like it was gonna kill me.
It's heavy.
And it's heavy, it is. And when the instructor, said, take a deep breath in and a breath out, we can even do it right now. I love it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
There was a moment, and I just felt it again just now, where there was a moment where all of that went away, right? Like for a moment, I felt a relief, and I noticed it, which is the most miraculous thing to me, is that, of course, that's what meditation helps us do. But what happened for me is that was like a tiny pinprick in that iron wall. It was like light, a tiny, tiny bit of light. And to me, the miracle of it is, and has been ever since that moment, that one little tiny bit of light is everything when you're in the dark.
Well, exactly. And if you think, okay, I've made this one, I can do another one.
Yeah.
And I could do another one. And I could do another one. And I can keep poking holes in this darkness, and until I've got all the light that I want and need.
That's, Susan, that was it. And of course it didn't happen overnight, but it really did. I mean, the next day I did exactly what you're saying. I was so moved by that experience that I would look for pinpricks of light, like, oh, I'm holding my cat, I don't want to kill myself. I would hear myself say that, oh, I'm eating toast. Actually, this is a moment of well-being, right? Like
jelly.
Talking to a friend, hearing my mom's voice. And so what happened was that, of course, it was a years-long practice, but I'll speed it up, was that, after a while, I realized I don't have to just wait for those moments to land, those pinpricks of light. I can create them, which was another huge, realization. And then, of course, the biggest one was, after practicing creating them for myself for a long time, was finally getting enough out of my head, out of all of that self-talk, to look around and to see how many other people are in the dark. And to be able to finally, like, get out of my own stuff and see, oh my gosh, so many people need light. So many people
could poke a hole for them.
I could poke a hole for them. And that's what started. I do something that I call the love list. that is sort of the foundation of everything for me, which is the first one I ever made was for my mom during that period, which is just all the reasons she's impacted me, all the things I love about her. I love this, I love that, I love the memory of this, I love the way you do that, I love that you taught me this. And those were, as you can imagine, right? They were a series of pinpricks of light for someone else.
Yeah.
And as we both know, I was the first recipient. It's impossible to be depressed when one is immersed in that kind of love.
Right. As you know, and really I mean, it sounds cliche, but it's really a choice. Now, I mean, I've had my moments of just going, well, I'm driving a car and I could just go, you know, um,
Wow.
many times,
Wow. Yeah.
more than I'd like to admit. Um, and there's part of me that's like, no, because there's just too many people that love you and that would just devastate them. And I couldn't devastate anybody. And when I had Epstein-Barr in 2021, and it got me so low that I just thought, well, if I just fell asleep, maybe I won't wake up, and that would be okay. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't
Wow.
do this. I got to figure out. I mean, and I didn't have anything to be depressed about at the time. And I was like, what? I've got to figure something out. Because my kids need me, my significant other needs me, and my family, and it's a choice. And
Wow.
it's a choice to do something. Um, and that's kind of when my intuition started to kick in to, okay, well, I knew it had to be something physical.
Mm, mm.
And so I did that, but I was also starting to go, okay, what can I do to research what was wrong and what I could do about it, and what was going right, and I think that is a super important key, is to focus on what's going right instead of what's going wrong. And those are little points of light, like
Yes.
I've got a place to live. I mean, I remember when I was first a single mom years ago, and I was on food stamps. I was going at 5 a.m. to the food bank to ask for help for my electricity to be put on. And it was very humbling. And I had a lot of pressure on my shoulders. And I finally said to myself, what would be the worst thing that could happen? And I played it all the way through, and I was like, it's my ego that's like embarrassed that I've got myself in this situation. But if I let that go, it's
Wow.
really not that bad. I mean, no,
Yeah.
the worst thing that I could imagine is probably not going to happen. And so then I just said, well, I'm going to start thinking about what's going right and what I do have. And I had a roof over my head. I did have a job, not the great job, but I had a job. We had food to eat. We were safe. We were
Mm.
healthy. We were ably bodied. We had support. And when you start doing that, then you just keep looking. It's like the red car, you start seeing more things that are going right. And like, even, oh gosh, I wasn't late for work today, or the traffic was good, or gosh, somebody was nice to me at the checkout counter, or just things we just take for granted every day. That, I mean, even thinking about like places on the other side of the world where you can't even imagine how bad it is. And then you got to think about, well, everything I have right now, every single thing I have right now is a blessing,
Mm.
because it could be gone tomorrow.
Well, and Susan, what I really love so much about what you're saying, because I feel like this was also unbeknownst to me, but I was training my brain, right? Like I think that's what you're
Yeah.
saying. Um, my way was to look at all the relationships in my life and find all the ways that they had supported me and served me and that I love these people, because it's very easy, as we all know too, with people in our lives to, focus on what's wrong or missing, or, and I think in both our cases, what we're talking about, it's the same thing. It's training. I have to train myself, because all of that negativity was directed at me beforehand, but it was just this constant, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong. And you're right. It sounds cliche and it sounds so simple, and it is simple in a way, but it's not easy to train ourselves to look for what we love and what's good.
I had for a while, like a bracelet. I don't have it anymore. I had a bracelet that I kept on my wrist that I served as a reminder that, when I touched it or saw it, that was my cue to think about what's going right now.
Oh,
And I had a bunch of them made and I gave them all away. I get to
oh,
get some more, but yeah, I mean that's a good way to start a habit. Just have something that's going to remind you, every time you see it, um, to give thanks and to celebrate,
what's it?
what you
Right.
do have, right?
And one thing
Um,
I just want to make sure that we bring in, because I feel like this is super important, which is also that there is a time to have our grief, and there's a time to have our sadness, and there's,
absolutely.
anger. And I feel like it's always important to bring that in, because again, just like the simply celebrate, that, you know, to me, they're two sides of the same coin all the time, the love and sorrow, and the grief and celebration. And back to your intuition and all of the wonderful training you've been doing on intuition, that it's like we need to discern, we need to practice discerning, is this a story that I can tell myself a different story right now, one of good fortune and what is working, or is this real grief that is coming up right now to be healed? And we only know that for ourselves.
Well, I think that certainly it's healthy to experience, your feelings and not deny them and push them down. But I think it's also important to have this habit in your back pocket so that
Yes.
you can bounce back up and reframe what you're going through so that it doesn't end up being stuck down there. So you're not stuck in grief, you're not stuck in anger, you're not stuck in, despair. And you know that you can pull yourself back up. Right now you're just being sad, and it will pass. And I think that's
Yes.
a huge thing that um, I taught myself was, anytime I'm feeling depressed or upset about myself, first of all, I shouldn't make any decisions.
Right.
Um,
Hallelujah.
and
Right.
and secondly, I really need to just um, remind myself this too shall pass.
Susan, I think that's everything, right? Because it's like me when I was in that meditation hall and I first got that understanding. Depression isn't solid. It's not an iron wall. You can, and it's like as soon as we understand that everything shall pass, it does change. And like I love what you said about a tool in our back pocket, right? So I think that that's the other thing, is we're so I still go through deep sadness and depression and anxiety, but it's like I always have that in my pocket. Like, oh, I can go outside and just look for five beautiful things. I know that, and I know that even in the midst of being depressed, I can see beauty. Like it used to be an either or in my
Yeah.
little mind. My young woman, I love her so much. I feel so much for her. She just didn't understand that it can all exist at once. And that changes everything for me.
Right, right. That's why I like to have my guests um bring up a happy hack, which we will get to later on, is that because that's just a lot of different tools that you can bring out, and whatever one's appropriate for you at the time or resonates with you, or just
Yes.
works for you. I'm not saying that every single one will work for everybody in every situation, but I just think it's an important thing to have in case you don't. And another thing that I've learned too that can affect your happiness, and it's your digestive system. I mean, this sounds really, yeah,
It's
your
true.
your digestive system has a lot to do with your mood. Being full of it really means what it means. And
Gosh,
it's
I love
got
that.
and it's another part of your, I mean, it's got neurons, like, because your heart has brain neurons, and your stomach lining is quite vast, and if it's not quite right, it can actually cause depression. And I've seen, I mean, because there have been times I'm like, I don't seem to be depressed. What's going on? And as soon as I got things fixed, I'm like, oh, that's what.
Isn't it? You know what? I love what you're saying, because it also speaks to, um, you know, it's like when we have those feelings that it's like we don't have to instantly, and I think this comes with age, and it's also like wisdom, right? Where you just think like, I don't instantly have to think just because I feel depressed that I am depressed. Like what you're saying.
Yeah.
We could look at our sleep, we could look at our nutrition, we could like, did I even get out of the house today? Did I see the sun? Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes it's as simple as that, a friend's voice. It's just that we're just missing some element of what our physicality needs.
Absolutely. And I just have been watching this one, he's a neuroscientist, and been watching a lot of his YouTube, and which is a replay of his podcast. And it's Andrew Huberman. And
Yeah, I love
you
him.
know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And he has this morning routine that some other YouTubers have said, I did this and this is what happened. And I'm starting to incorporate this. I mean, just this past week, I'm just like telling my boyfriend, let's do this. Let's try this. And so this is what he suggested, is to, and it's all about your circadian rhythm. And now I wasn't prepared to talk about this, so I'm not going to be able to pull all the scientific facts out of my brain because I don't retain stuff like that.
Well, everyone can go listen to the podcast too, but I love that you're sharing it. It's great.
But there's something that builds up. It's like endocyne, or I don't know. I'm going to butcher it and make a fool of myself. But it's some hormone that builds up in your body overnight, and then in the morning it's released. And if you drink caffeine too early, it blocks the release of it, and then you'll have a crash later on in the day. So he said, don't have caffeine for like at least the first hour and a half to 2 hours in the morning. So you can still have your coffee, but just wait, do some other stuff. So he says, have like some salty kind of water. So I would say like have some electrolytes, have electrolytes in the morning. Go, and first chance you can, for like as soon as the sun is up and showing where you can have it, you don't want to look at the sun, but you want the sunlight to hit your eyes. Yeah. For a period of time, probably 5 minutes minimum. So go outside and, let the sun be on your face. Don't look at the sun, but, just know that if you wanted to, you could look at the sun if you wanted to, that kind of thing. Let it
Yeah.
be on your face. And then, get some little like not major exercise. I mean, it's not required. You can if you want, but like do something to get your body going, go for a little walk or do some stretching or, just clean up the house. I mean, just get moving in some way. Do Tai Chi or um, do some yoga or qigong, just something that gets your blood flowing a little bit at least for a few minutes. I mean, the more the better. And then he also said, I'm not ready for this, is to do a cold plunge. So, but what they said was, it is remarkable how much that increases your productivity
Mhm.
and your like serotonin and or maybe I think it was your dopamine. It increases the dopamine more than um anything else they said by like at least 50% more. Um so I just don't like to do that. So I would have to get some sort of machine that's always available that, just keeps the ice in there. And I
Right,
don't
right,
want to do,
right,
because
right.
I'm just not going to be getting my ice out and making myself an ice tub. And, and I don't like to wash my hair every day. So I don't want to, you know, get the cold shower. And so, but I think it's a great idea. I believe in the science behind it. But maybe I'll try it someday. But just those morning routines that are really good. And I think I would add to that setting your intentions for the day and what you're grateful for.
Yeah, yep, yep, yep. Absolutely. All of that. I'm right there with you.
So Sherry, tell me a little bit about what are some of the things that are in your book, 33 uh, creative ways to say I love you.
Yeah. So I always like to say that, there are all kinds of ways that we can give, handcraft or handmade gifts. The ones that I suggest are not so much crafts, although that's a whole nother element of what people can do, but they're more, okay. So like the love list is something I've already, that's the first one in the book, because to me, it doesn't cost anything to do. You could give it to anyone of any age. I give all sorts of different ways, like if you're giving it to teenagers versus someone who's elderly, how to present them.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole world in all of that. However, a lot of the other gifts they might be experiential kinds of gifts, for instance. And I'll just like off the top of my head, let's say that you have a friend that is starting a business, and that person could naturally use some support. You could make a gift certificate for 2 hours to take them out for lunch, and we're just focusing on this is just the time that you can brainstorm. I can help you, maybe if you have tech abilities or something you can offer, to really try to, I mean, these are eco gifts as well as loving gifts. I'm also like most people, very concerned about the amount of throwaway items that we have in our society. So some of these gifts are also like, it's like they're things that connect us to people, as well as really supporting something that people have trouble cleaning out their garage. We could spend 2 hours, bring over some bagels, and help them turn on some fun music and make it joyful. There's also things that are very simple, which are, for instance, I'm a huge fan of audio notes on the phone. Almost everybody has a smartphone these days.
Yeah.
And you can turn on that audio recorder. I will often do it if I'm out and I hear music that reminds me of someone. It might be a song that my best friend from junior high and I used to dance to. And I hear it and I'll turn on the auto recorder and listen, I'll let some of the music play, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking of you. I so very much love those memories of us when we were at that prom or junior high dance, and thank you for being my lifelong friend. Boom, 30 seconds. Those kinds of things coming to people in the middle of their lives, their busy days, it's a touchstone for people. So some of the gifts are
Yeah.
things like that. They're very, very simple. Some of them are take a little more creativity.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, it's really not that hard to be creative. If you know somebody really well, um, the I think what is really a touching gesture is showing how well you know them.
Yes. Yes.
To say, oh my gosh, like, I have so I have a really a love for pickled beets. Now, it's my grandmother's recipe, pickled beets. Okay. Not just
Okay.
any, it has to
I
be
love this.
homegrown, homemade, and it's not a well-known fact, and not everybody appreciates the fact, but every year, my ex-brother-in-law gives me a jar of pickled beets that's my grandmother's recipe, that
What?
from with the beets that came from his uh garden.
So
and
beautiful.
and I I look forward to it every year because that's just my thing. And then my father loved cherry, chocolate covered cherries, and I made sure he got a box of them for every Christmas.
Oh.
And another thing I loved was raspberry jam. Like, just, I mean, it was, couldn't wait to look under the Christmas tree and see that jar of jelly jam, or the raspberry jam, because raspberries grew all over my parents' yard, and my mother made it every year. And I got a little bitty baby food jar full of it, and and it was the most delicious stuff in my life. And I won't have it anymore because she doesn't live there anymore, and the raspberries are gone. But it's something I remember. And my grandmother used to make ornaments every year for everybody. So it's just, if you know that's something that they love and they really want to have, and then you make sure it happens, and um it and then it's exciting. It's or not even when they're expecting it, but to do something that makes them go, gosh, you listened, you heard me, you didn't, like, I can't believe that you knew that was my favorite song, and then they had the lyrics put on the blankets or something. So it's you don't have to make it yourself, but if you just pick something out is really special for somebody, and you make a gift out of that, it's huge. It's
Well, and
huge, and you don't have to spend a lot of money, just being creative.
that's exactly. And what I also love to remind people, because sometimes we forget this part, is that we can also frame it in a way that gives it that depth of meaning. So I could tomorrow send you some raspberry jam, but it means a lot more if I, put a little note that says, I too am thinking of your mom and the raspberries and the yard. And then even better, if I happen to have a photo of you and your mom, like to construct it in a way that they know that it's really meaningful. And I know that sounds like, well, what? Why do you have to say that? But I think we sometimes forget that part.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
we
like, I
all,
mean, if you'd made like a picture of she and I and put it on the lid,
exactly. That's
the
exactly.
ribbon around it, I mean, that would have been just, so I probably wouldn't have, I'd keep the jar, you know?
And that's exactly, and one of the things I love to tell people too, because a lot of times people have aspirations and dreams that maybe we can't fulfill, but we can see them, like, so one of my favorites in the book is called Daydream Vacation, right? Which is so, like, that your partner has just been dying to go to Paris, but you don't really have enough money to, like, surprise that person with a trip to Paris.
Yeah.
But what you do is you you rent Amelie and you get some croissants and you play some French music and you whatever, that you put the elements and you say to them, someday we'll be sitting in that cafe in Paris, but right now I'm holding this vision with you, you know.
Yeah.
And these
Yeah.
sorts of things, I think one of my big missions in life is to really get people to start seeing gifts, outside of, it has to be
The
this wrap
store.
thing that you
Yeah.
bought. Yeah.
It
There's so
the
many.
gift is in here and in here, and you're just expressing it in a different way. Um, I mean,
Yeah.
there have been a lot of times where, for the lack of anything else that I could feel like I could give somebody, well, I mean, uh, if you have a gift, um, meaning something that you're able to do, um, and you can give it, because you know that it would mean a lot. So, I'm a pet portrait artist, and so I have given a lot of pet portraits
Mm,
away as gifts, especially if the the pet had just passed
right.
or is getting older, or you know um or it's just special to them, it's their everything. Then that is something that I know is I will love doing it, and I know that they're going to love receiving it. And so, yeah, if you have a gift, a natural gift, and it's something that you can easily produce, maybe you can write a song.
Exactly.
If you're a musician, that means a lot, and record it. Or, there's someone's favorite place, and you get, go get a photo of it. I mean, it it's the thing is that you need, if it's an occasion, you need to give yourself some time to create the idea. You can't sometimes do this the day before.
You can, but I do love to remind people, though, one of my favorite things is gift certificates, right? Because you could have an idea, a spark of something the day before, and maybe you can't implement it, but you could say to someone, this is a gift certificate for one outstanding, you're just going to love this gift so much, gift that's going to be coming January 1st, or you know what I
That's
mean?
a great idea, and that's a great idea for kids to give their parents, because if you have no money, but you would like to do something for them,
Yes.
like, okay, I will empty and fill a dishwasher every day, for the
Yeah.
next week, so you don't have to do that, or I'll wash your car, or and they can redeem it anytime. It's a coupon, and then they can, I made these. I would cut them out and I'd write them out, and then I'd staple one in so they could just tear it out and give it to me, to
Hey.
get the payment, this washing something, or giving them a back massage, or running an errand for them, or I mean, what they need help with.
And
And
the thing is that I love what you're saying, Susan, is that especially if we're talking about someone's birthday or the winter holidays, where sometimes people get a lot of stuff. I think, January comes and there's this like emptiness a lot of times. And so by doing something like that, you could either tell them what it is or not tell them, but something that people could anticipate is super important.
One time, this was many years ago, before I was divorced. But it was a time where my ex-husband and I weren't doing very well financially, and I think I did this for his birthday. But my cousin at the time was just starting his band. He's very well known now, but when he was just like a three guy band, and they were just playing in the corner of a restaurant, I asked him if my husband could come in and play a few songs because he was learning how to play the guitar. And I thought that would be really cool. So
Oh,
for his birthday, I got him a something to hold his guitar in because we just had the guitar. We didn't have anything to carry it.
yes.
And I got one for really good price. And then I made a playbill with him,
Oh,
like you know what a playbill is.
I
It's kind of the
know.
advertisement of who's playing and all that. And I made the playbill and put it inside the the guitar case. And so when he opened it up, he saw the playbill and saw that he was going to be, um, you know, joining the band and playing. And then we recorded it. And so that I mean, I love to kind of give those kind of creative gifts because I knew that that was super important, you know.
Right. And those are the sorts of things. I mean, even as you're saying it, I don't even know your ex-husband and but it's like I feel that, right? We all when we hear those stories, we feel the joy of that and it's because of what you and I started talking about in the very beginning, which is it's about the relationship. It's about the person's relationship to themselves and their joy, but it's also about our relationship to them and a gift that um that contains all of that.
For me, it was my last ditch effort.
Oh, it was a beautiful one. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful. I hope
Oh,
you feel really good about. I mean, I hope in the telling of it again that you really feel good about your generous heart. Because that's what
I don't
that
feel bad about it, you know.
yeah.
Just I mean, I thought it was pretty creative. But sometimes when I think you're the most creative when you don't have the money to buy something
Mm.
that they're worthy of getting. Like, gosh, I wish I could like spend $300 on somebody and like I only have $3. So what am I gonna do? And you have to do something more meaningful so that there's value to it, meaning to it, so that it's priceless.
Yes.
Really,
That just reminded me one of the gifts. I love fortune cookies and it's very easy to steam them open and replace the printed fortunes with
I
personal
did
ones.
not know you could do that. Really, you
Very
can
easy.
steam them
I
open.
have I have instructions on my website. It's so simple. You wouldn't believe it. So,
That's
but
awesome.
so sometimes I fill them with love list items, right? So sometimes it's like I love this, I love that. But one time for a friend, I'd already made him a love list, first for another birthday. And so, but I was thinking about all the things I wished I could buy him. And so in the fortunes, each fortune cookie, I just put like, one day, I'd love to be able to treat you to this, or one day I'd love like just to recognize all of those beautiful, things. And to put them in fortune cookies was fun because it gave it a little bit of like abracadabra. But there's so many things you could do with fortune cookies. You won't even believe the fun.
Isn't that a cool idea? And then just bag them back up, and then they can just like go through them and eat them. I mean, just completely, I'm telling you, if somebody like redid a bunch of fortune cookies that were just made for me, I would make myself sick eating them all and going through them all. And, you know, or, well, one year, um, I, my son's really hard to buy for because he will either go get what he wants or he's real humble and he can't think of anything that he wants.
Hmm.
So I would just give him money. Well, I feel like money isn't I mean, what do? Put it in a box and everybody else is opening all these other boxes. So I took different kinds of bills and I made them into things. So that he
Oh,
was really interested in. So he was into
oh.
video games. And so I made like an AK-47 out of
Oh my gosh, Susan, that's wonderful.
and then I just boxed each of these bills up. And so when he opened it up, he saw the bill and origamied into something. And I made like a bracelet. I don't know. I made a shirt and pants because I'm like, he needs to get some more clothes. I'm like, but I don't know what you want. So here's some money for clothes.
That, you know what? That's so awesome. Because when I was going to say, even before you said that, that for teenagers, a lot of times, right? Because money sometimes is the best thing, just it could be however big of a stack you want of $1 bills, I don't know, however many, but then to put one love list item taped to each bill.
Yeah.
So it's both the heart and the money, that's one way, or for littler children, depending how you feel about candy in your household, but you could do candy and put a love list item, but trying to combine, I just feel like I love the love list because it's so versatile that way. I've had people tie it on a flower stem, or, you could send one on a postcard, especially for the elderly. I just want to make sure I say this because I think for the elderly, people who are lonely, that receiving things in the mail on a regular basis can be like one of the best gifts. So it's like every week you send a postcard with one thing you love about them or one favorite memory, or, I've done for my father-in-law
Or a photo.
A photo, a drawing, a baked good, there's something about that. I'm thinking of you. I'm thinking of you. I'm thinking of you. That is so important.
Yeah, and you were talking about something, and I just had something come to mind, and now I'm trying to remember it, of course. But it was um a treasure hunt with your
Yes.
love list.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's super fun. That is so fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and have it related to what it is, so and every time they find something, they get a little love note. And
That
then
is so fun. I love that. And
yeah.
speaking of scavenger hunts, this is something I was traveling when it was my birthday just recently, and I was with a girlfriend in France, and she went out running early one morning to the next town, which is a couple miles away, and she took photos. She took about 20 photos of different like little things in that town.
Yeah.
And then she sent me on a scavenger hunt to that town, and because she had some work to do and I was just going to go hang out by myself, and it was so much fun. Like, it's so simple. Like all she did was take 20 photographs, but I was like, oh, it was such a great gift because it really took me to all parts of this town. And so, yeah, I just like you had said earlier, so much of it is just pausing. And this is where I think meditation and having some sort of practice of being able to allow yourself to quiet, because you have
Yes.
to be able to, quiet. You have to be able to like get outside of your own stuff and to really consider like, who is this person? What would delight them? What? And I love like what you were saying about, even if we have some money to spend, to challenge ourselves. What could I do that costs less
To
than
add
$10?
value to
You
it.
know, what could I do that doesn't cost anything? Just like, why not? Because it does make us more creative.
Yeah. Yeah. And and I like where I like to be able to give gifts where um they they haven't told you what they want.
Yeah.
You have figured it out. Now my daughter always gives me her laundry list of everything she wants in October or earlier, and I'm like, now like then it messes up my creativity, because I just want to come up with something. But I think that I I mean just getting back to um learning about somebody and really making
Mm.
an impact. I have a girlfriend who we spent most of our childhood together, and we had not been in contact for many, many years. And out of the blue, I get a book from her in the mail,
Oh.
and a long letter, just kind of reigniting our friendship. And the book was authored by one of our heartthrobs
Oh,
in, in high
awesome.
school. Yeah. And then she said, oh, and by the
Oh,
way, honey, he's in your town like right now, and you need to go to the book signing.
That's
And
so
and
sweet.
so I went and I got my picture taken with him. He signed the book. I bought her a book and I had him sign that as well and then sent that to her. Well,
Oh,
then a few months later, he was in her town doing the book signing and she got a picture of him with her. Both of them looked the same, cheek to cheek, with like a library of books behind them. And so we have this identical picture that we were taken weeks apart, but
oh,
it's the same pose with this guy. And it was Rick Springfield, by the way.
that is the
I'll
best.
never wash it.
Oh, that is the best story. I love that. I love that so much. And my dream is that 10, 20 years from now, you'll pull out those photos and you'll send them to your friend with something else that has to do with Rick Springfield,
Yeah.
maybe whatever. But it's like because there's something like what you're saying is like building on a connection, right? It's
Yeah.
so beautiful. Like I just love that whole back and forth. And only you two, right, could share
That's
that.
right. We could have only given those gifts to each other. And
Right.
and then not only was, that she gave me the book. I mean, but she said, "Hey, he's in town. This is where it's at. Go, 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 go." You
That,
know. And then I mean, I was just like, "Oh my gosh." And I just couldn't believe like I was going to be able to be he put his arm around me and, put his cheek right up next to mine and I was just like, "Oh my I would have never imagined as a high school girl like that
I
would ever happen."
know.
And then she got to do the same thing, So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it just be creative and you don't have to be creative. You can just go on the internet and get some ideas.
Hello.
Yep. Yep. She's got a book. So,
Please. Sorry, I had to say that. But it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, go, yeah. I mean, if people sit quietly and really think about the person, so many things come. And yeah, I've got tons of ideas. We've just given people tons of ideas. The internet has tons of ideas. I think the main thing is just to, especially as these winter holidays approach, if you're someone who typically might get caught up in that obligatory gift giving, to just step back for a minute, and just pause and think, what do I really want a gift to feel like, And, I don't need to go into debt.
Personalize a gift, personalize a gift. Um, know what their favorite colors are, know what's their favorite restaurant. I mean, even if it's just to get a gift certificate at their favorite restaurant, even if it's one that's not one you find at the store, you can go to their favorite restaurant and say, "Hey, do you have any like gift certificates that I can give?" And they might make one up or something. I mean, I've done that before, where someone was just raving and raving about this one restaurant, and it was just a mom and pop, and I just wanted to do something, and so I went to the owners and I said, "Do you have any like coupons or can I get like a gift certificate where I can pay for?" They're like, "Absolutely." And so, I arranged that. And um and it's really not that hard if you just take a few moments to just do some brainstorming. Even if you just get with a friend that doesn't even know them, um they can kind of give you some ideas and have
Mm,
a back and forth about, well, what do they like to eat or where do they like to go, and
right.
what do they do in their pastimes, what are their hobbies, and then come up with some ideas. Um so yeah, I mean, I think it's just really it it just means more when you're adding value, when you're, instead of just buying a thing, you're you're making a moment.
Yeah, that is it, right? And if
Mhm.
you are like just the last thing around that, if you are buying something, which again, there's no problem with, challenge yourself. How do I create a moment from this? If you give them a sweater that you know they're going to love, give them a certificate along with it. Let's take a walk, this fall, and you wear that sweater so I get to take a photo of you in it. Or, you know what I mean? Just make it go that extra little bit of thoughtfulness to make it into some experience together, you know?
Yeah. Even if where you give it to them,
Exactly. Or
you
how
know,
you give it to them, how you wrap it, how you, right? Like there's all kinds of, right?
yeah, like even how you wrap it, or make it a treasure hunt kind of thing. Um, so that at least they remember. I used to have a treasure hunt for every Easter basket that my kids had. They had like a little bunny trail of candy that they had to follow from their bedroom out to the gift the bunny basket. And I would make the Easter baskets myself because
Do
I
it.
wanted them to have the candy that I know they like. And
Oh, yeah.
some of the baskets I made when I was doing basket making. Um but yeah, I mean, it just do a little bit different. It doesn't have to be elaborate, or
And yes.
don't have to spend a lot of money. Just make a little trail, make or get out some rose petals, or you know so yeah. Well, Sherry, I think we've given a lot of people some ideas on how to
Oh,
celebrate this year.
I do. And just as we're wrapping up, I also want to bring it right back to where we started, which is also these are gifts to ourselves,
Yes.
and yeah. So if it feels like, oh, that's too much time, it's too much trouble, I don't know. Just remember, these are the things that bring us to life, right? We're
And
like
it'll
prime.
help lighten up that doldrums of pressure of, I mean, I know it seems like a lot of work, but if it's coming from the heart, it's exciting for you. It's meaningful. Um, you can't wait for them to open it as much as they're excited to see what you've, gotten for them. And I'm not saying every single present that you give this year has to be this way,
Right.
you know,
that'd be a lot, probably.
no, but I mean, just have it start here. This is where it needs to start, and that's where the creativity goes. That's where it grows, and then the ideas start coming, and then you get the excitement, and then one idea leads to another, and you get almost so excited about, can't wait for you to see what I have in store for you.
Right.
Or
Oh,
surprise them. So yeah, I mean, shoot, it just raises my vibration just talking about it.
me too. This is why I love this so much. This is why, I say celebration saved my life. It really it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't have to wait for an occasion. You can do it anytime that your spirit leads you to do that. But so Sherry, can you share with the audience how they can get in touch with you? Do you have anything going on right now?
Well, I am currently looking to opening up some spots in my one-on-one coaching and also my group coaching programs because I've got a couple of people leaving, and so those things will be happening quite soon. And obviously with the holidays coming, I'm going to be doing a lot of workshops and things around the love list and about talking about everything we've just been talking about. So if people follow me on Simply Celebrate on social media, that's where I am.
Okay.
Simplycelebrate.net is my website. And yeah, I would just love to hear if anybody does create any kind of special gift. I love those stories. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. So, what's your favorite quote?
Oh, I know that's a great question. I love quotes. Um, I think in the spirit of what we're talking about, a quote that I say to myself all the time to remind myself is that life is fleeting and we don't know how much time we have or the people that we love have.
Yeah.
And celebrate now, say
Yes.
it now. Like that, I just think we have to remind ourselves all the time that, like you said, this is all a gift being here, and it's easy to forget.
Yeah, absolutely. We get wrapped up in things that really don't matter, you know. It's about joy and finding the good in things, and the relationships that you have, and celebrating other people, celebrating yourself, right? And celebrating the opportunity to that we have around. We have opportunities around us all the time. Sometimes we're just not looking. We just need to open our eyes and see them.
Yeah, yeah. Creating those memorable moments, it's everything, I think, for ourselves and for the people we love. So thank you so much for taking all
Yes.
this time to share and to talk. It's been so fun.
Thank you. And one more thing. What's your quick happy hack?
Happy hack. I love your happy hacks. Well, people are going to guess this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Look for one single pinprick of light.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, I just looked at you when I said that, and your wings behind you, I felt it, right? A pinprick of light is just a tiny something that sizzles or sparkles or just uplifts you. And from that, one little pinprick like that, we're suddenly turning in a different direction. So just remember a pinprick of light.
Yeah.
And give them.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you, Sherry. It's been a delight celebrating this moment with you.
Yes. Thank you for who you are, Susan.
Thank you. Well, I would love to have you come back again. This is so delightful, and we should get together and collaborate sometime.
I love it. I love it. I've had a great time with you. And again, I love to hear people's stories. So,
all right. Sounds good. Well, thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, Susan. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Create Happy Now podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, and if you are watching on YouTube, hit that notification bell. If you have a topic to suggest, please leave a comment below. Catch the Create Happy Now podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Audible, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Listen Notes, and Podchaser. Check out other YouTube videos on the Create Happy Now YouTube channel, and if you want more, check down below for resources, courses, and events, or go to www.createhappynow.com.